Welcome to Not Your Average Neighbor, the podcast celebrating inspiring individuals and the amazing work they do in our community. I'm Ann Roushar, your host, inviting you to join me as we shine a light on stories of resilience, connection, and good news. Let's build a neighborhood that uplifts and inspires, one story at a time. It's Ann Roushar here with you on another fun Wednesday, sharing good news and good people doing good things in our community. And today, my guest is not your average neighbor at all. Her name is Ann Brown, and she grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. She went to Cornell College and the University of Iowa College of Law and has been practicing law for more than 20 years. She is the owner and attorney at Ann Brown Legal, focusing on personal injury and employment discrimination with a focus on women's rights, children's rights, and the rights of the LGBTQ plus community. She has spent her career at the forefront of the fight for gender pay equity, obtaining verdicts for women who were paid less for work, and creating new and important precedent in appeals courts. Amen, Ann. Ann also is an advocate in legislative matters, having pushed in Des Moines to protect the rights of women, children, and the LGBTQ community. She has also, which we just discovered earlier this year, she has also been an avid gardener for 20 years, and in 2024 started Perfectly Potted Posies. It's a flower farm, container garden design, and fresh flower studio. Through Perfectly Potted Posies, she helps raise money for numerous charities, and she focuses on providing access to flower, horticulture, and nature to marginalized people. She also grows food for local food banks and encourages others to do the same. And she hopes to connect others with nature through gardening and to see what action they can take to help our planet. But most importantly, flowers bring joy and connection. And those are both things we are desperately in need of in our community right now. So please help me welcome Ann Brown. Hi, Ann Brown.
Hi, Annie. Thank you.
How are you? I'm so glad that you're here with me today.
Yeah, me too.
I'm so glad it worked out. Now, I did tell Jace, we're just going to get off topic for 1 second. Karen Reed's jury is deliberating, and at any moment, there could be a verdict. So I'm just like, this is important. But that is also important. I've got to, and it may not even work out because I have to show houses after this. And so I may have one like earbud in going, oh yeah, go take a look. No, I'm just kidding. And thank you so much for coming and welcome to Not Your Average Neighbor. What I like to do is to kind of recap our friendship journey to let everyone know how we connected. And thankfully, Stephanie Schreiner, who is our beloved friend and your bestie, reached out to me. Gosh, it's 10 plus years ago, 15 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, how old was Piper when we first met?
Boy.
Young.
I mean, yeah, like 3 maybe.
Yeah. So 15 years. And we used to be a part of this really fun club called Nerdy by, and where we would, at first we started reading books, and that's when I could actually sit and pay attention to read. Now I cannot. I don't know, I guess it's called brain fog, whatever. So I can't read to save my life, but we did have a good time doing that. And then it turned into like creative time, and then it's just blossomed into our friendship, which is now just us being amazing allies for the LGBTQIA plus community. And I'm just so glad to know you and to call you my friend. So welcome.
Thank you. It's funny how like you just make these connections, throughout, and then you keep the ones you need, I think.
Absolutely. Or the ones that bring you the most. They fill your bucket the most.
Yeah.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Well, I'm so I was so honored that Stephanie invited me into that group. And I knew only her and Veronica, our other beautiful friend. And now I have all you as friends. Yeah. Erica. I saw Erica last week.
Okay.
She used to be in our book club part too. So anyway,
Yeah.
it's just nice. And I helped Kim buy a condo. And yeah, it's just been fun to be a part of this little group. And we definitely need like a reunion, I feel like.
Yes, we're always say that, but
I know.
we're like the most organized nerds you've ever seen.
Yeah, we are. We are. So, Ann Brown, the first question I like to ask my guests is, tell me something good that you would like to share with the world right now.
Well, you know, because you were at our party, that my daughter, Piper, just graduated from high school, and she was a valedictorian, and she had all these other awards, and I'm just was so proud of her. So, and yeah, I was extra proud of her because she is dyslexic. So we kind of went through a period where she just, like, part of her identity was not, she was like, I don't like school, but she's also super smart. So I was glad she turned that around.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm super proud of her. And she just graduated, and I'm glad that we've gotten through the grad party and all of that craziness.
Yeah.
And on the gardening front, it finally rained here. So we were having a drought, but I think we're over that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I hope it comes in rain and not like wicked storms, right?
Yes.
We do not need those. So let's say first, congratulations to Piper. That is amazing and outstanding that she like turned that around and was valedictorian. Not surprising though, her mother is brilliant. So apple doesn't fall far.
You're pretty sweet. And generous with your compliments.
Well, I only speak the truth. So congratulations to Piper. And let's just dig in, pun intended, on talking about your gardening journey. Like literally, I had no idea you were this talented florist, which the ones at Piper's graduation party were so unique and different and fun, and they were just great. So tell me all about this.
Okay, so I would say it actually was right when I started practicing law. We didn't grow up with a garden necessarily, but when I started practicing law, my friend Stephanie had a little flower garden, and then another one of our friends who worked with us, Peggy, had a big garden, and they just kind of got me into gardening. And I would say over the last I guess the last 20 something years, we kind of have both sort of ebbed and flowed with our commitment to gardening, kind of based on our kids' ages. So when they were really young, like there's no time for any of that. But it really just kind of has stuck with me. And I've always done mostly flowers, although I'm switching to just growing more vegetables. But part of that is just because right now there's such a need because I'm
not laughing, but we live in a place that, where there are needs for sure for that.
Yes. Yeah. And I recently even it used to be sort of, there was just what I always considered one of these like amazing relationships in government, which is where, they kind of were purchasing farmers need to sell to other people than just consumers in order to be able to make it because it's expensive. And so they're purchasing those kinds of things and giving them to people in need, and they're not doing that anymore. So I know like Lynn County Gardeners and things like that, they're really promoting trying to grow extra food for local food banks in your garden. But anyway, so then one of my favorite things has always been the pots, because you just worry about what they look like, I guess. And they only really have to look good for a year because they're not It's not sort of permanent in your garden, but when we moved out to Palo, I had a lot of space and it was kind of overwhelming, but sort of piece by piece, I've gotten my garden in, and I grow a lot of cut flowers that I like to use for arrangements. And it just turned out to be something that I was kind of good at, which was like a shock, because most creative things have been like, no.
Not true. I recall you having some good juices flowing. So I'm interested. So do you do like little seeds, like the wildflower packets, or what kind of, and when do you plant those? For those of us who live in Iowa, I never know, because I am not a gardener, nor do I play one on TV. And I want to see those flowers, but I just don't know when to start them.
Yeah. So I started a lot of my seeds inside, just under lights. Just because, like, as you know, our summer is short. So
right.
Just to get the most out of it. And so I do a lot of flowers that I try to do flowers that are a combination of great for cut flowers, but then I also do try to put in a lot of perennials and even annuals that are good for pollinators. And then I also am doing a bunch of dahlias, which are kind of hard, but they're, I think, just overwhelmingly people agree they're probably like the most beautiful flowers.
They are, but they are hard, aren't they?
They are in this climate.
Yeah.
Because you have to dig them up at the end of the year. So you plant them like little potatoes and then you dig them up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm out, but they are so pretty. You know, they're very pretty. And do you have to, you have to deadhead those a lot or no?
So for the dahlias, you cut them like a cut flower.
Okay.
And the more you cut, the more you'll grow. So that's kind of where they came up with, like, the generous gardener has the prettiest garden. So a lot of my flowers are like that, because otherwise I would hoard flowers. Like, I can't keep that. It has to be in my garden. But once I started learning, okay, there's a lot of flowers out there that if you cut, they get better. Like, you cut down one and it grows two, you know?
Right.
And I was better at cutting them to make arrangements for people.
And so, I bought my girlfriend, Nora, a little galentine's bouquet. Where are you getting those? Are you sourcing those flowers in the winter, or how are you getting those?
Yeah, you have to, in Iowa, you have to source flowers.
Right.
From a wholesaler in the winter if you want to do.
And it was such a great idea. She loved it so much.
It was so fun, I think. Like, it was
fun.
I
told you, if it grows, I am always down to be a delivery driver to spread some joy to girlfriends.
Oh,
that's I could even wear my unicorn costume if you like.
That would be perfect. That would be perfect.
Yep. So, so your backyard is just filled with flowers all the time, or are you I know you're doing farmer's market, correct? In Palo on Sundays?
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I'm doing with my sister comes down. She's a really good vegetable farmer, vegetables and fruits. And so and she's really good at houseplants. So she comes down and we have I mostly just have cut flowers, but then sometimes I have flowers like potted up that people can get. I like to have flowers like in my garden and then available that just people don't see very often.
Right.
And I like,
every single, what am I trying to say? Like vase that you had at Piper's was like flowers I couldn't even recognize. I loved that. Yeah.
And I like history a lot too. So oddly, you could get a lot of sort of historical flowers that I like to see if I can grow. And that's been really fun because it really is. I think it's definitely an escape, but it's not. I have to use my brain all the time because
right.
New. I don't know all of and there's a lot to know, and there's a lot of plants.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us some history about your favorite historical flower. I know, I had no idea.
Yeah, so some of the flowers that have a really long history often are roses.
Sure.
And they're not the kind of roses that you usually get in a bouquet. Some of my favorite flowers are really more like some wildflowers like
Yeah.
lupine but I like to I just put in some buck roses, which are those are just historical to Iowa. So there was a a rose breeder at Iowa State, and he bred a bunch of roses for that could live in Iowa because
Right.
there's just a lot that it's about this climate for plants. Griffith,
And they're called buck,
yes,
bruck,
buck. They're
buck
different.
roses.
He has a bunch of different varieties, but that's the breeder, and you can find them at online at different places. And they really are. They're just beautiful, and they hold up really well here. And I like that they were developed in Iowa. So
Yeah, for sure. Now I interrupted with that question, so let's go back to Palo. When are the dates for your farmers market in Palo for the summer?
So Palo has it every other Sunday, and there's one this Sunday. So then go
Okay,
from
great.
there. And it's
Right.
from there. And then we are doing the Cedar Rapids Farmers Market a few times, I think later in the season, because dahlias and gladiolas and things like that, they just don't bloom until,
Later.
late July, August.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's exciting. If you don't know and you live in the area, Cedar Rapids Farmers Market is quite magical and has a lot to offer. And I'm sure Palos does as well, but Cedar Rapids metropolitan area, it's quite a spectacle. But I like to go early so I miss all the people.
Yes. Yeah, me too. And I think my sister, she lives in Bristow, Iowa, which no one's ever heard of. But we're doing a couple things up there too. And that's fun too. That's just like I'm like, should I fill out a form? Do they need to see our insurance? She's like, no, we just show up. I'm like, okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But the lawyer in you is probably like, Well, let's speak a little bit about your law journey. Now, before we that, you mentioned Peggy. Is that my friend Peggy Rahe?
No, it's a different Peggy. I did who I worked with who gardened.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wasn't sure if I had another friend a couple friends in common with her, and we just started working together more like permanently. So I was like, oh yay. Anyway, shout out to your Peggy and to mine.
Yes.
Anyway, so let's talk law. Like, I know that you worked for a couple law firms. When did you open your law firm? Let's start there.
In 2017.
2017. And you me.
I do so I do injury work, and then I do some civil rights work primarily in the employment area. And the areas that I focus on there are usually gender discrimination, discrimination against LGBTQ people, and I do some in both personal injury, and I do in the civil rights stuff, I do children's rights or children's injury cases. And then personal injury is really just, any type of personal injury case.
Right. And so how proud were you the first time you won a case for a woman who was getting paid less than?
I was so proud. And it was actually our first victory that wasn't a settlement. I mean, we had that case forever, and it was actually 3 women that I had, and we went through trial, and then we had an appeal to the Iowa Supreme Court before trial, and then after trial we had an appeal to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals. And so those 3 women are definitely friends for life.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm sure they spread how amazing you are too. So
yeah, I've done a lot of people call me a lot for equal
Right.
things, so.
Right. Well, listen, it's something that until, a few years ago, and I'm not saying like a minute, but I'm saying, within the last 15 years, we're just realizing how we're getting ripped off, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Like, so it's just awesome that you bring that voice to help these women fight for their money.
Yeah. I mean, juries are easy. I mean, they easily understand the fairness of it all. And I think a lot of women don't know. But
Right.
it's just kind of like, especially in particular industries, it's like, I'm just betting
Yeah.
I'm being paid equally.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we kind of got started on this, on me inviting you to be on the podcast was that right now I'm watching another woman get railroaded in Canton, Massachusetts. And it's Karen Reed, if you guys don't know. And I would love to tell you all about it, but I am just too invested right now to. All I'm doing is Karen Reed. I'm saying mantras in the morning. I'm doing everything I can to make sure that this jury, because the jury, I asked Jace, I said, Jace, do you have jury trials? He said, no. I'm like, it's a blessing and a curse. But in this, there's the proof has not been established. I get tongue tied about it because I'm so worked up. But so
now the jury's been out since Friday.
Yes, correct. Friday, they got the closing arguments and then the instructions, which took a really long time. And then they got a really confusing jury form, which happened in trial 1. And they've come back today with a few questions regarding that verdict form. And it feels like they understand it. And in Massachusetts, you have to convict for all, or I don't know if I'm saying that right. There's something where even though there's 3 different counts on the form, they could be hung on or say not guilty on 1 or 2 and then hung on the 3rd one, and she'd have to be retried for all 3. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's crazy.
It ain't not crazy. And the fact, and what they're hung up on right now is that just to get in this a little bit more, the defense gave them an option of putting OUI is what they call it out there. OUI instead of a DWI. And because they want this to be done. So feedback from the last trial was that the jurors really wanted to give something to the O'Keeffe's, the victim's family, and they would have felt like maybe they could have given OUI as something, as some sort of. However, it was a blood test done under duress as she was going to the hospital to be put on under a section whatever. Because she was freaking out because she couldn't believe this was happening. So the blood sample that took was from hours later. It's just so messy but again, that's why I say jury trials aren't always the best, because sometimes although they're not to the victim's family, they can.
Yeah.
And we're humans, right? You want everyone to feel happy, but I don't know how an OUI could make anyone feel happy. Not John O'Keeffe's family or her. So it's just crazy. So that's what they've been hung up on today. I know it's a little blah, blah, blah if you're paying attention, but.
Well, how do you know is that because of their questions?
Yeah, because they come back to the courtroom and then they ask the questions, and they've been specifically about this OUI.
Oh, they have?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, the defense probably has to feel okay about that, actually.
Yes, they do. I'm sure they do. I feel like they're like, listen, if that's what we need, if that's what we need to do to close this, then she had to do that, right? So Karen Reed had to agree for them to put that in there, and she agreed because none of them can go through this again. And in Massachusetts, they will retry trials 3 or 4 times.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, it just won't stop.
Yeah.
So the amount of money, I mean, all of her lawyers are pro bono. They're not making any money from this. All of them.
Yeah.
The only get and food. That's it. I mean, right there, I'd be like, oh, well, and you don't know that as a juror, but
Right.
right there, I'd be like, not guilty. I mean, if they're doing this for free again,
Yeah.
oh, I should be in a courtroom right now listening to a trial. I don't know. I feel very.
If they are at the point that they're asking questions about the OUI, then I bet there's to a verdict.
Yes. And that's why I am side-eyeing my YouTube on my phone going, they're still talking. It's not there's a fan that runs. Oh, right there. The fan's running. So I don't know. It probably is nothing, but it'll take them forever to get back into the courtroom because there's so many people out there in Dedham, Massachusetts, like just waiting for this verdict.
I feel like that should have been your summer vacation.
You're right. And I was out in DC a couple weeks ago and my girlfriend was like, it's only 7 hours away from DC. You should probably just go up there. And I was like, oh, why didn't I think of that? But I didn't. And so I didn't make it. But I respectfully believe that is not guilty. I do feel very sad for the O'Keefe family, and I hope that justice is served someday, but it ain't Karen. So they need to find the real person who did it.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of went off on a tangent. I'm so sorry about that. But let's talk about I would love you to shout out a favorite not your average neighbor that you would like to recognize and appreciate.
Well, I think I am going to shout out my friend Sue Millar.
Sue Millar.
Yes. So she is just she has at the Cherry Building, she does like instrument repairs and things like that. But she is so active in so many organizations. She's active with the Academy for Scholastic Success, and she does a lot of, and she is definitely an ally and supporter of the LGBTQ plus community. And she also is always, even when she does all the hard work for political candidates.
Oh,
so
wow.
When nobody wants to door knock or anything like that, it's Sue. And she's just hilariously funny and authentic. And
so she instrument repair shop in the Cherry Building?
Yeah. Millar. I think it's like Millar. Oh, Woodwind or something like that.
Oh, sure. Awesome. Well, that's good to know. I love the Cherry Building. It has so many amazing little spaces in it. Yes. That's awesome. Well, Sue, shout out to Sue, not your average neighbor for sure. And let's talk about, are you doing anything to celebrate or advocate for our friends in the LGBTQ community? I know that you typically are a sponsor vendor person. you sponsor a booth. You at the Cedar Rapids Pride. Are you doing that again this year?
I can't remember. Stephanie would know better than me. I am kind of assuming that we are at Pride.
I'm gonna go get my fan so they can see.
Okay.
The fan.
Marley,
are you going to have these again this year?
I know we have quite a few of them, so yes, I think that we will. And then we usually try to give, we have book bans now in Iowa, so we try to give.
Yes, I love that you give away
books. That's the other thing, though, that I do want to kind of call people's attention to is there a lot of the don't say gay provisions have been struck down by a federal court. So, schools should be people who are advocating for LGBTQ youth. Schools can't really hide behind that bill anymore.
Oh, good.
It was struck down. So that's just kind of something I think to keep in mind. So, and then this year I'm going to, I did, after the anti-trans bill that passed, I made a lot of flower. My dog is terrible. Sorry.
That's okay.
I made a bunch of
Flower arrangements.
Yes, in trans colors, and then took them to people who I thought might be a little bit down over this.
Yes.
And I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to make some surprise kind of pride bouquets for people who I know who are doing the hard work. And I go down to Des Moines, usually fruitlessly, and advocate on some legislative issues. But I'm going to try. But people are doing a lot more work than me, and so I'm going to try to throughout June take them arrangements, and then I usually make a planter for a rainbow planter. I try to make every June, and I might make a couple and see if I can auction them off so that the money can go to Pride. So
yes, awesome. Yes, there are I don't know how our legislators and people do it, going in and fighting the good fight, and it's just like the Karen Reed trial. They are seeking justice for people, and then you just get kicked in the nuts every chance they can. Like what? Yeah. It's tough, and like I just admire them so much. So shout out to all of our friends working very hard to make Iowa a safe place for all.
Yes.
Iowa is for everyone. So just remember that. All those haters on KCRG, just shout out just shut them down. Those haters on KCRG. I can't stand looking at their Facebook.
Yeah.
There's so many dumb comments. I can't.
And I mean, I think that it's the haters that are the loudest, but I just don't think that the majority of Iowans feel that way. And I just think it's very hard right now have a state government that is actually representative of the views of Iowans. And a lot of that has to do with just the way that the districting is done and the rural communities. And, but there's have a better opportunity, I think, sometimes at a federal level, and midterms are coming up.
Yep. Amen. Use your voice and vote.
And your vote.
Yes, for sure. Well, I think we have actually ran out of time for this podcast, but thank you so much for sharing with us the brightness that you're putting in people's lives and the work that you are doing for those who need a voice, don't have that opportunity always to do it on their own. They need an advocate. So you're just a rock star.
And thank you for always speaking up, because people don't, But
well, I do my best. I try to not be a raging crazy person, but sometimes
it happens.
I ain't perfect. Nacho average neighbors are not perfect, and I'm proud to say that, because we all just do our part to make sure that people feel loved. All people.
Yes.
All.
Yes.
So, well, thank you again, Annie. I appreciate it so much. And I know I call you Annie because I have 15 friends called Ann. Their names are Ann. So like, I don't know. I got to come up with like a roll off the tongue nickname for you, but so I just say Annie because all my Annies are Annies.
Yes. Oh, yes. My mom calls me Annie, so it's okay. I know.
Okay, good. Well, because you call me Annie, and then all of our friends call me Annie, and then they're like, wait, you're so many Anns, so little time. The best ones are named Ann. No. So, well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week.
You too.
And we will share all of your the places to find you and your companies and all of that stuff. So stay tuned for that. But you have a great day. And don't forget, neighbors, to like, follow, share, listen, comment, like all of the things that will help this grow so that we can shine the light of good news on others, not just in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, outside of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We're looking for neighbors that are not average all over the world. I mean, like I said, Jace made international, my VA, last season. I'm here for it. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.